Now, whether all of us know it or not, most of us fall into the trap of stereotyping others.
The hasty judgments and generalizations we sometimes make end up putting people down and place walls between ourselves and others.
Hi, I'm Adriana.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Real Faith TV. Now, many teens we polled admitted that they prejudge others primarily by their appearance.
Most of them found nothing wrong with making judgments based on what a person is wearing.
Although most teens we polled did say that they don't regularly stereotype others. When they did, the generalizations had to do with economic status and race.
Stereotyping. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Not only do we have a great music video, Begin With Me by Point of Grace,
but we'll also hear from Courtney, who will talk about her experiences in stereotyping.
First, let's get the views of some teens on the street about stereotyping.
Do you think stereotyping is a big problem among people today?
Yeah, I think most everybody, whether they like it or not, is stereotyping somebody else.
What do you think is the biggest stereotype?
Possibly Christians and how they're freaks and they don't know what they're doing, but it's really just a great feeling and they're doing what is right. It feels good.
People don't like live when they're different, so they make fun of them. A lot of.
What are the biggest stereotypes that you see?
Probably skin color, religion, like if you're Jewish or Hindu or something like that.
Fairly large problem, I think. I mean, I even do it myself, but I think that we gotta learn to break down those barriers and stop stereotyping everyone.
It's like distinguishing between the blacks, distinguishing between the Hispanics, the Latins, just the different colored people.
Also, I think about different groups of like teenagers and stuff, like punks and goths and preps and stuff. I think other teenagers are totally like, all punks are this way, all goths this way, all preps are this way. And it's natural for humans to like group in with people they're comfortable with, but people need to be more open-minded.
Some people do stereotype others in just by the way that they dress or the way they look or act, but not me.
Yeah, I think so. And you see somebody a certain way, like if they're heavy, oh, they must be lazy, or people, they do it all the time. You're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but that's how people make their basis of who belongs here and what goes there. So.
What are some of the biggest stereotypes?
I think heavy people, people on welfare, unwed mothers. There's so many.
Biggest stereotype that I hate is that, I guess because it deals with me, that all teenagers with fast cars are trouble. So I get pulled over by cops all the time. So I drive a Mustang, and it just hurts.
Right now I feel as if stereotyping comes from the adults mainly because of music, you know what I mean, and how kids are living out their lives and things that we're doing every day. I think everybody's a so-called hustler, a so-called gangster, you know what I mean? That's just a stereotypical way of looking at anybody that has on, if I have on Fat Farm or if I have on FUBU or something, you know what I mean? I think that's stereotyping in general.
In our school, it's like everyone's in a category like jocks, skaters, like different, like the way you dress.
I look at everybody as human beings, and that's how I feel like everyone should look at everybody as human beings.
Seriously, I mean, that's so true. I mean, that's how you're supposed to look at everybody.
I know, instead of stereotyping for something that they're not.
Exactly. You know what? Let's see what our studio guests have to say about that. With us today are Rebecca, Vanessa, Ed, and Joe. How you doing? All right, guys, so what do you think about the most common stereotypes?
I think jocks are like one of the most common stereotypes because everyone like labels them,
True.
Yeah, a lot of people think, they're dumb, lazy, all they care about is sports. Where, I know at my school, you can't be dumb and get in there. You gotta, even the athletes, they're required to do certain things, and that's the way it is with a lot of people. In fact, since athletes are so motivated, through their competition, they tend to really set goals many times. They're really motivated in life.
I think, I'd have to disagree with you. I think the most common stereotype is those of minorities, those of...
Yeah, oh, that's definitely another one, too.
Yeah, different racial background,
I'd say that's the worst one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say that people judge their economic standings by their race.
Yeah, people make so many judgments just by race, like you were saying, economics, intelligence, like what the person's just like.
And it's so wrong too, because if they're living in a place that's not as rich as maybe the other person is living in, you know, they don't know the whole story behind that. They don't know if it was because of the family that they lived in previously or just different stories, you know? I mean, it all depends, and we can't stereotype those because they're human beings just like us.
Plus,
like
even if a person's poor, okay, so they're poor, could still be a nice person, could have an interesting story behind their lives. You never know. There's many things to a single person.
And a common stereotype is that they don't have the ambition to go do certain things. Maybe they just don't have the money.
Or maybe they don't have the opportunity.
Exactly.
Right, you definitely have to get to know the person before you make any judgments.
What's that cliche that everyone always says, you can't judge a book by its cover?
I think also stereotyping primarily comes from fear. You know, we put others into these categories. And I think it's because sometimes we're afraid of getting to know them as individuals, that we just feel more comfortable to be more closed-minded and just categorize them for these different stereotypes that we think they are.
Yeah, for some reason people are very unwilling to get to know other people.
To open up.
Right, you know, stereotyping usually exists when families and peers, you know, pass down prejudices.
Yeah, that too.
Right, and you know, we don't challenge or question them. We just kind of go along with them, you know.
And you're not even aware you're making them.
Right. And this kind of, I guess you could say, blind obedience, it can cause a lack of growth on our part.
You know, I really agree with that. You know, one-size-fits-all mentality really can't accurately be applied to people. No. It really can't. It's not like a T-shirt, you know, one size fits all. You can't do that with people.
You have to get to know each one.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Try them on.
Everyone's a different size. God made us all differently. But no matter how we express ourselves, our individual personality and spirit each remain unique. We're all unique in a different way.
Yeah, that's so true. And we talked with Courtney about stereotyping and about the stereotyping that she's experienced in her own life. You know, let's see what she had to say about that.
The most common stereotypes, I think, are the distinction between being a jock and being a nerd. Because it's like, if you're a jock, people don't expect you to be smart, and if you're considered a nerd, people don't expect you to be like athletic or anything. And that kind of hurts people a lot. Once you're stereotyped, you tend to act that way, and you're changing yourself to be what other people think you are.
Have you ever been stereotyped?
Yeah, because I'm tall, I'm 5'10" actually, and when people see me, the first question they ask are, oh, do you play basketball? Do you run track? And I don't play any sports because I'm a really, really big klutz, and I fall all the time.
How does it make you feel?
Sometimes it irritates me, and other times I think when people stereotype me, it's just really funny because it's like, okay, I don't play basketball, so don't assume that about me. But other times it's like, well, it's your fault that you just can't get past basketball and sports. My full name is Courtney Erin Randolph, and to a lot of people it sounds really, really Irish. So if I fill out an application or something and then I go in for the interview, they're like, oh, you're Courtney? And they just look back and forth between what's on the paper and what's sitting in front of them, just because of a name and what they think it should be.
You know what, that's really true. I see exactly what she's talking about, you know,
the different stereotypes.
Yeah, seeing the name and then thinking something, and it's really something else. How about you guys? Have you ever been stereotyped?
Freddie?
Well, like she was saying, you know, she's really tall, so they assume she plays basketball. Like, you know, since I'm really short, small, like, what, I can't play any sports. I get stereotyped like that a lot, too.
Yeah, that is a common stereotype when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people I play ice hockey, and I guess I'm not big enough and I'm not buff enough, I guess, and they like do a double take. Yeah.
I like get stereotyped because of the town I live in. Like when people hear my town, they automatically associate it with like partying and drinking, and a lot of people in my high school do that, like the majority, but like that's not everybody, and that's what they think.
When I was younger, I used to read a lot and I was really quiet, so they used to call me a nerd. And then now I'm just like a freak or a punk or a goth or anything like that. So when people call me that, I just kind of flaunt it. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever, it's your opinion. And I just walk away.
And the same thing with me, like the town I live in the city. So right away it's, oh, you live in a bad area or all this other stuff. And actually I'm thankful that I live in the city because I have experienced things that most people who aren't in that area wouldn't experience. And it's made me have a more well-rounded way of looking at things, and it's made me a better person, I think, more compassionate to see, because I get a first-hand view of what's going on, even though I live there and things like that. It really helps me out. And, I think Jesus wasn't bound to stereotyping, and that kind of helps me to really integrate that with my life. And I remember in the Gospel of John, chapter 4, I read this the other day. We read a story of Jesus and the woman of Samaria. And in Jesus' time, the men really didn't speak to the women, the strange women that were just walking the street with their water and everything. Yet Jesus reached out. Not that they were that strange, but that's what they called them back then. And Jesus reached out and asked this woman for some water. And they were like, "What are you doing?" Because that just wasn't known back in the day, And that's almost how it is with me living in that area. I reach out to them, and it's like I live there, and the stereotyping really shouldn't be there all that much.
That's right about the stereotyping, how it shouldn't be there. But getting back to that gospel story, not only was the person a woman, but again, she was a Samaritan.
Right.
And, Jews just stayed away from Samaritans, and, because they worshipped idols, basically.
Yeah.
And this religious tradition did not stop Jesus. He felt called to heal her, and he didn't want, to let the world, determine her choice of action.
Exactly, because she was different from him, he didn't ignore her. He didn't stereotype her for what she was.
Right.
Because maybe she worshipped idols because that's all she ever knew.
Exactly.
Maybe she didn't know his religion. She didn't know anything about, the Jesus and those kind of things.
Like you were saying before, you were talking about, people being afraid to learn about other people and get to know other people. You didn't see that in Jesus. That's
he
like the
wasn't
main
afraid
message
to reach out
right
his
there.
hand. Now, on that note, has any of you guys ever struggled with stereotyping others? Have you ever stereotyped that firsthand? Have you experienced that?
Well, I think sometimes I stereotype people by their clothes, not necessarily their race, because I grew up, like everyone was equal, but like it's like first impressions.
Yeah.
But you always try to get over that initially.
When I was much younger, I used to think that handicapped people were retarded people,
and they're so talented sometimes.
I felt like that they were just like. Now this was when I was much younger.
Yeah.
I felt that they were just kind of there.
Yeah.
And then I worked at this camp where I dealt with people like that, and I realized they're the most caring people there are. They don't have hate. They just have disabilities. They're like. Little children with Down syndrome, there's no more, you can't find more love in a person. They'll cling to you like you're their mother.
I love that. That's such a miracle.
And really, you could apply that to anybody, because right there, you could find something good in somebody. Everybody has a heart.
Really?
True.
And even though they were born like that, and someone would think that's a downfall, that's horrible. Oh, I feel so sorry for you. Actually, it was probably a gift. They are a gift.
It really shows the separation between our feelings and our physical abilities.
Make the best come out of a disability.
Even though they might be disabled, they're very able to feel for people.
Exactly. Now let's go back to our interview with Courtney, and we'll see how she deals with stereotypes.
At the times when I get frustrated with people stereotyping me, I have to go back and remember that they're only human, and all humans are not perfect. Actually, no human is perfect. So they have their ideas, and I'm going to have mine, and we just have to try to work together. When you stereotype a person, it's wrong, because God is saying love your neighbors, and that we're all created in God's image. And everyone's so different, so that's saying that we should accept those differences as God would teach us to. I remember one summer, I was away in Massachusetts, and there was this one girl who everyone kind of labeled her as different, and she thought she was really stuck up because she was mixed, and she just kind of held herself in a way that made her seem taller than what she was, because she was a model too. And I decided to befriend her, and she turned out to be such a cool person, and we were really, really good friends. And had I followed everyone else's stereotypes, then I would have never made such a good friend.
What do you think could help prevent people from stereotyping others?
I think there's not really a way to prevent it, but you can try to get past it. Like, before you start judging a person, you can try to find out who they are inside, and say if you have certain misconceptions about the person, just try to talk to them and ask them, well, how are you, and like, what do you like to do? And find out more about the person, not what you think they are.
Has your faith helped you in any way to not stereotype others?
Yeah, because it's like Jesus said, love your brother, love your neighbors, and it's like, how can I love someone if I'm judging them? And it's not fair. The only real judge is God and Jesus.
You know, that's so true. You know, you have to love God and love Jesus, and that'll get you through anything.
Yeah, he's there for you in your everyday life, and he'll help you with all that.
It's really important, you know, that we have to examine our attitudes towards others and allow God to help us to relate to those who are different from us. You know.
And I find sometimes praying has greatly affected the way I relate to other people. You know, and when I have trouble with certain things during my day, you know, I can always say, Jesus, help me treat this person as, you know, help me treat this person as you would. And that kind of helps me out, because I think like God, you know, what would Jesus do in a way? And he really helps me out.
You know, that's definitely an excellent point, Adriana. You know, in order to work on
changing our stereotypes.
Exactly.
We have to start with ourselves.
Right. And what do you guys think about that?
I think that's totally true, because before you can like be comfortable with other people, you have to be comfortable with yourself. So it's definitely like a good step to take.
Definitely.
Yeah, before you can teach other people how you should not stereotype, you can't be stereotyping yourself.
Practice what you preach.
I think a lot of people like get stuck in the idea like they think the problem is stereotyping the wrong way. They think, oh, well, I know what this person is like, when really like you gotta get to know each person. You know, you can't assume that you know how they are.
It's easy to stereotype somebody by what other people say about them, or like what they're classified as. But
oh
then,
man, that's happened so many times.
Yeah, but it has to be like, you have to be strong enough in your faith and being a person enough to realize to reach out to that person no matter what you hear about them.
That's what happened to me. Someone told me that this one girl was this and that and this and that, and I got along with her so well, and I was like, what are you talking about? And it's just personal preference. Like, maybe you wouldn't want to be friends with somebody, but you have a lot more in common with them than your other friend does. You know, you have a friend over here that you have a lot in common with. Maybe they won't get along with your other friends, you know? So I think it has a lot to do with that, and I know I tried to totally ignore what my other friend told me. I was like, all right, I'm going to just start with a clean slate. I'm not going to prejudge her, stereotype her, nothing. And, you know, it really worked, and she turned out to be a great person. So what other stereotypes do you think exist in this world? Let's talk about that.
Well, I find a lot of people separate themselves sometimes. Sometimes you stereotype yourself. Or, you know, what I mean by that is like you imagine that people are stereotyping you, and then you end up putting the stereotype on yourself. Like once I knew this girl, she was a really nice girl, I was good friends with her, but like in our group of friends, she was kind of like the recluse of the group, and people didn't like her because of that. They thought, you know, that she thought she was too good for them. Really, she was embarrassed by them. She thought that they looked down at her, and like the only reason why she was friendly with me was because, you know, I'm more tan than the other kids were. It was because she was Hispanic, and I guess she felt more comfortable for that reason.
Right.
And I guess understandably so. But I guess that's our message. We're trying to say, reach out to those people, make them know that they're welcome.
I think also the kind of music people listen to. You know, like we automatically associate a kind of music with like a kind of person.
Yeah.
And it's like we can like automatically totally tell their personality by the music they listen to, and that's not always true.
That is so true. And like as a musician, I love singing, and I listen to all different types of music, and that's what makes a well-rounded person, like songwriter, you know, musicians, certain things like that. And when we listen to all types of music, like makes it better. But you can't stereotype somebody just by the type of music that they listen to. You know, like rock, oh, they must be like this. R&B, or, you know, hip-hop, rap, you know.
Oh, I totally agree.
You
know, it's not the music that makes the person, you know.
It's not. And, you know, if we listen to the message, sometimes it's a good message.
Yeah.
You know. How about different types of people, like maybe homosexuals, or we stereotype them a lot too?
I know people will think of them as they'll just like almost like they're different. They're not human or something. You know, they're different. They're different, but no.
Yeah.
You know, there's one difference. There are many more aspects to a person than homosexuality. There's a whole person behind. You know.
And we stereotype them as being a certain person.
Like lots of people think if you're a homosexual, you must like to garden and like design stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's not necessarily
You could be an
true.
athlete. You could be an actor. You could be doing anything.
You're a person, just like everyone else. You know, it doesn't matter.
And that it goes for anything that people say. Your color, you know, your religion, anything really.
Yeah.
I think when you said your religion, that like a lot of people stereotype Catholics. You know, like some people think of Catholics as people that like don't really have a faith. Like like they go to church, but like again, they don't like necessarily like practice what they preach. You know.
Or they're uptight or something.
Exactly. So, like, a lot of times when you say, oh, you're Catholic, they're like, oh, you're Catholic. You know, and, like, you have to get past that stereotype also, because that's the way that they think of Catholics.
And also lots of other religions, too. Like, people think, like, if there are people who believe in more than one God, that's really weird. When, you know, a couple thousand years ago, that was pretty normal. That was what was
the
in.
norm.
Yeah, you know, it's what, like, the majority thinks during the time. Or, you know, like a lot of people will think Protestants are like, oh, some Protestants are like real nutty because like they really worship God. It's not exactly a vice to embrace God, you know?
Right. It's just what you believe in. And also, stereotyping gives us a tunnel vision. It does not allow us to see the beauty in each individual person. If we challenge ourselves to look beyond racial, economic, or physical classifications, we could definitely learn much more about people who are different from ourselves. Really think about that.
Yeah, that's true. And as Catholic Christians, we're called to recognize the victims of stereotyping. In our schools, there are many cliques. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It is natural to hang around with people who are like us. But however, it does not give us the right to participate in mocking, ostracizing, or even alienating those who are different from us.
You know, we're really called up, even if you're Catholic or not, as individuals to speak up against comments or jokes that put people down. Classes of people, it's just not right.
You know, we can challenge the stereotyping that has been passed down to us. It's important that we always examine our own conscience and ask what attitudes or behaviors of our own that make us part of the problem of stereotyping others.
Now, as Catholic Christians, we believe that all people are made in the image of our Creator, God. So we're called to affirm our common humanity and celebrate our differences. We're all different. He all created us as individuals.
What are your views on stereotyping? We want to know what you think. Contact us through our website.
And post your thoughts on the message boards or drop us an email. Our website is www.realfaithtv.com.
That's www.realfaithtv.com. And remember, if you're not connected to the internet, call us at 609-406-7402.
And remember, in Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 13, smart aren't I? Remember that? For in the one Spirit, we are all baptized into one body, Jews or Greeks, slaves or free, and we were all made to drink from one Spirit. Think
So you
about
know
it.
what? Until next time, remember, do all you can to set yourself and others free from the bondage of stereotyping.
God bless you, and we'll see you next time on Real Faith TV.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up one finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.